Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on when you are watching this and where you are in the world. My name is Cydelle Stewart. Welcome to Monday's Lunchtime Live with Cyd. My name is Cydelle, like I said, of Remotely Onit, and I'm here once a week to share some tips and hints with you and insights around ways that you can inject ease into your business if you are a solo service-based business owner. I head up remote support agency Remotely Onit. We are UK registered and globally based. We served clients around the world with their administrative and back office functions to help them stay focused on their expertise. Today, I'm come to share with you three things that you need to do to increase your impact. Now, lots of people that we work with tend to be speakers, authors, coaches, experts in industry in some shape or form. And one of the things that people often want to do is to impact more people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they want to be working more hours or spreading themselves thinly to do so. So how can you make more impact with the people that you already work with and the clients that you already have, and also the other people in your life, not just the clients that you work with, but people in general? How can you make more impact without spreading yourself too thinly or running yourself ragged? Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on that, and hopefully you'll take something away from what I share. So let's get into it. I'm going to consult my notes because I'm not going to remember everything off the top of my head. So bear with me. Right, so three things you need to start doing to amplify your impact. The first one is to get your house in order, or in this case, your digital office. Now, lots of people work in the online space now. Post-pandemic, it is more people than ever before are working in the online space. And even if you don't run an online business per se, chances are that you do operate online in some shape or form. So whether that is that you use video conferencing tools to hold your meetings, whether you use auto schedulers for people to book time with you, to schedule time in your diary and pay you, whatever the case may be. If you are running a business using a digital tool of some sort, then you are operating in the online space. And often what I find when I work with clients, particularly in terms of systemizing their business and setting them up for success operationally, is that they're often operating from a place of confusion and modelment, if that's a word. And that's generally because their house isn't in order. Now, that's not to shame anybody or make anybody feel any type of way. It really is just about how can we make this smoother? How can we make this work better for you? How can you be more efficient and more streamlined in a way that makes sense and helps you to show up as the best version of yourself and deliver to people in the best light? And one of the ways that you can do that is to make sure that your digital office is in order by ensuring that you have some basic systems. I want to say I don't want to use the word systems because systems sometimes throws people and makes people think of this big, scary operation that they have to do. And it's really not that deep. This is just about having some order in how you store things. So, for example, one of the things that's worthwhile doing in a moment when you have some downtime, or actually scheduling some time aside to focus on getting this done so that it serves you in the long run, is to sort out your digital filing. Now, it might seem like a very minor thing, but when you're on the go, working with clients, or you have opportunities come your way, you need to find information quickly, it really does help to have all of your information to hand. So I would say, for example, setting up a digital storage space like Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, all of those are digital storage spaces that many people are familiar with because the space comes with their email platform, or it's an age-old space that they've used for a long time, like Dropbox, for example. So one of the things you can do is set that up with some type of filing system, some kind of hierarchy, and a there's a word that's escaping me right now. A filing convention, a naming convention. So if you find a way to name your files so that you'll always be able to find them easily, one of the ways that you can do that is to group things. So generally speaking, when I'm setting up a digital office for a client, I would set up a business and operations main folder. So that's like your big house, right? The big house on the hill is the business and operations folder. And then within that, if you think about that as being like your company folder, and then within that, you would have departments, if you like. So if you worked at a big corporate firm, you might have HR in this regard. If you work solo as a business owner, then you're not going to have HR. So you can kind of scrap that. But I'm just trying to illustrate my point. And then you might also have marketing, you might have accounts and finance, you might have templates, and you might have administration. So those are just some top ones off the top of my head. And then within those folders, you're going to have subfolders. So let's say, for example, in the accounts and finance, you might have invoices received that you've actually had to pay and invoices that you've issued. And then you might have subfolders within those that have your bank statements, you might have all of the invoices that you've issued, you might have all of the invoices that you've paid or receipts that you've paid. So when it comes to doing your year-end accounts or your self-assessment, you can just go into those folders and find everything you need. And in terms of a filing convention, what I would recommend that people do is to just name things backwards. So I always start with the date in reverse. So start with the year, then the month, then the day, because when you're filing chronologically, it's going to help you to locate things really, really quickly. So then you'd have the date backwards and then hyphen and then whatever the file is. So whether you save that file by the name of the vendor or the name of the person you paid or the name of the person who's billing you, that's up to you. But that's just one simple way to save your financial records. Another file that is really, really handy to have on hand is to set up a file for marketing materials. So let's say, for example, you have a PDF brochure about your business that is similar to the stuff that's on your website, but this is just like a PDF downloadable version that people can take away. You might have that stored in a publicity folder. Let's say that you get invited to do podcasts or you're doing outreach so that people can book you for podcasts and you can be a guest speaker on their shows. Often people will ask you for a one pager. Now that's just going to be one simple A4 sheet that has all of your information, your biography, and your about me kind of section, and then potentially some key topics. And then you would have a link to some photos or a link to a folder where they can find some high resolution photographs of you that they can use in their marketing materials. When you get asked to do a podcast or publicity interview of any sort and you can send that document to people, they are super impressed. They are really happy that you're so organized and they will prioritize interviewing you because your stuff is together and everybody loves a person who's together. So definitely set that up if you don't have that organized already. It helps to make life easier for people. And it also helps to make sure that you're represented in the light that you want to be represented. There's nothing worse. Trust me, I had this experience as a performer back in the day on the big stage, when somebody doesn't ask you for your material and you don't think to volunteer it. And then what they go and do is search you on the internet and take any old picture that they like and find information online which could be out of date, which could be false, could be, factually incorrect. And then they go and run with that. And next thing you know, it's published and it's out there. And the digital footprint of that is now stamped online. Or worse, they go and they have it printed and that document lives somewhere where lots of people are going to have access to it. And, maybe it's leaflets or flyers and they're given out. You don't want the information on those documents to be out of date or false. So you control the narrative, you control the information that's shared about you. So share that, give that information out in a timely fashion, and just make sure that you always have it in a folder somewhere up to date. And that you have the link saved on your phone. That's another thing you can do, is to make sure that you have links saved on your phone for important documents that you have stored in your digital files, because there comes a time when people might WhatsApp you or text you, or you might be on social media and somebody asks you for something, and sometimes you miss the opportunities that you're not able to respond to in a timely fashion, and you can't always wait until you're going to be on your laptop or during your usual working hours to respond or to provide the information. And when you have those links to hand, it can be super helpful, and it just means that you're always ready. And who doesn't want to stay ready? Because, you know, opportunities can happen and arise any given time in any place or space. So, like I say, one of the things you want to do is to make sure that your house is in order. One of the other things you can do in regards to that is create an asset bank. So, like I'm saying, just having links on your phone that make it easy for you to grab things. I would say create a database. It could be as simple as a spreadsheet. I can share some links in the notes underneath this video in the caption later. I will update it and I will share a database that I use for assets, and it's in a tool called Airtable, which is a spreadsheet tool and a database tool, very similar to Excel or Google Sheets. But the beautiful thing about Airtable is that it enables you to populate those cells in the sheet with more than just text and numbers. You can actually save documents. So if you have a PDF, if you have a PNG file or a photo or a JPEG file, you can also save those in Airtable in a spreadsheet format. It's an amazing tool. It lets you do so much. And so it's a tool that I use very frequently in my business to create databases and store information that can be accessed very easily and also shared with other people when it needs to be. One of the other things you can do is set time aside for, like I said, doing specific tasks. So if you are on social media for your business and you need to update content on a regular basis, which most of us do, I would say having your socials in order means prepping in advance. So set time aside to do your planning and your strategizing around what you're going to post. Set time aside to create your captions and your actual content, so the graphics and the artwork and all of the things that is going to entail. But also set time aside to do your scheduling, so pre-schedule your posts in advance, so you're not always posting on social media in real time and trying to keep up with the algorithm and the comments and in and amongst doing your day-to-day work, because it can become overwhelming, and that means that you end up being inconsistent on social, which then just really negates all of the work that you're doing. So in order to stay on track, do spend time setting yourself up for success by creating that stuff in advance. So that's step one, getting your house or your digital office in order. In terms of number two on 3 things you can do to amplify your impact, we have map your client experiences. Now, this one is very close to my heart. It is one of my specialities. It's something that I really empower clients to do and do really well. And it makes a world of difference to how you show up in your business. But also, it makes a huge difference to the customer experience that that client takes away with them. The way that you work with them, the way that you bring them into your business, the way that you manage the project or the journey, whether you're a coach and it's a coaching journey, whether you're a service provider and you're providing a service for a finite period of time, whether they're an ongoing retainer client, none of that really makes a difference. The bottom line is, if you map out the client journey from the beginning, from the very, very, very first touch point that they might interact with you and your brand, whether that's social media, whether that's your website, whether that's in the street, whether that is at an event, whether it's through a referral, whatever the case may be, consider the steps that that person is going to go through to go from not knowing you to finding out who you are, to learning more about you, to interacting with you, to engaging with your content, to potentially purchasing from you, to then working with you, to going through the process of completing work with you, to you then potentially gaining feedback or a testimonial, to then them potentially advocating for you and referring you to other people to work with you. That is a lot of touch points, a lot of steps, and a lot of opportunities for you to wow them, for you to leave a good impression, for you to leave them feeling like investing in a service with you was money well spent, time well spent, and they got the results that they desired. And one of the ways that you can impact that is how you make them feel. Everybody loves how you make them feel, and everybody remembers. Does everybody love how you make them feel? They may not. Let me rephrase that. Everybody remembers how you made them feel. I'm sure it was the late great Maya Angelou who said, people will always remember how you made them feel. So take the time to make sure that the impression that you're leaving with people, and this again, like I said at the beginning of this lunchtime live, is not just relation to clients. This is people in your life in general, your friends, your family, you know, your neighbors, people that you consider acquaintances, friends of friends, whatever the case may be. Consider how you make them feel. Consider the impact you're having based on the interaction and the engagement that you have with those people. And in terms of your clients, one of the biggest things that people seem to forget is that retention is easier and more valuable than acquisition. So if you can impress, if you can inspire, if you can impact the people who are already in your circles, who are already in your client base, that is going to make more of a ripple effect and have much more of a longer lasting impact on you and your business as well as them than you trying to attract brand new clients from scratch. Attracting cold audiences or even warm audiences, rather than working with the audiences that are already in your network, is a much bigger ask and a much bigger task. So if you haven't mapped your client journeys, then it's something that you need to consider. So for an example, how many times have you started a project with a client and allocated an amount of time to it, only to find that the minute that that client hasn't given you what you needed to move forward in time, it's thrown your whole project out of whack? Your whole project timeline is now for the birds. It's falling apart because you may be working on something so big that you can't work with any other clients whilst you're working on this particular project. And so now you're bound to this client and you haven't factored in something around delays. And so what's happening is you're still working with this particular client, you're still working on this project, you're still delivering, but it's taking longer than you anticipated. And longer could mean a few days and anything up to a year. I've seen it happen. I've had incidences of it happen for myself. And it's not fun when it happens because it makes you realize you didn't actually put contingency in place. What did you put in terms of the timeline? So when you're mapping your projects, when you're considering, okay, this service can be delivered in, let's say, this service can be delivered in 2 weeks. That's great. But in a case where the service can be delivered in 2 weeks, map it for a month. Give yourself that 2-week buffer, not so that you can use up all of the extra time, but just so that you can cover eventualities where there might be things that don't go to plan. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're financially tied to the timeline and it doesn't work in your favor. So factor in time for the client to get information back to you delayed, time for you to potentially be unwell and not be able to deliver as quickly as you usually would, time for any type of eventuality to happen so that you're always covered. And it means that you're not working in a situation where you're on the back foot and apologizing, or that you're not resenting the client for eating into additional time that you could be earning money doing something elsewhere, or eating into your frustration because here you are doing something that you're now no longer enjoying because it's taking much longer than you anticipated it would. That's not fun. So factor in the time. Consider your processes step by step by step by step. There is no detail too great when it comes to mapping your client experiences. Consider what you want them to feel, like I mentioned earlier. What do you want them to take away from the experience, the interaction? What do you want them to tell people if you weren't in the room with them? What would you want them to say about how you worked with them, how you got them transformation, or how you got them the outcome that they wanted from the service that you provided, that they invested in? Think about that and reverse engineer engineer it. I know one of my friends would laugh at me because I love to say reverse engineer things, but it's the easiest way to consider all of the minutiae, all of the little steps that we can easily, very easily overlook. Those are the things that you want to think about. Consider that when it comes to client interaction and impact, that people will always remember, like I said, how you made them feel. Okay, number 3, in terms of 3 things that you can do or that you should be doing to make more impact. Number 3 is keep a done list alongside your to-do list. Now, this seems like an odd one. I've been told before, why would you do that? It's just extra work. And I'm saying, no, it isn't. It's an amazing way to recognize where your time is going. Now, often people start their day, usually the beginning of their week, with a list of things that they need to get done that day or that week or by a particular point. And what they tend to do is get sidetracked because life will be lifing. And so whilst you're working through your to-do list or trying to tick things off, what can happen is that you'll be there and you'll get halfway through the day and you look at your list and you haven't ticked anything off and you're confused thinking, but I've been working all morning, I've got so many things done, but I've not ticked anything off my list. And that's fine because those things that you have done didn't make it onto your list. And it's probably that they were so small or you felt like they were so insignificant that they didn't need to be on the list. And so you didn't jot them down. I say have a to-do list and have the other side of your notebook or another other side of the sheet of paper, or if you use a digital notebook, make a done list and list every single thing that you do. So when you get to the end of your day, you can see, actually, I have made a dent in my to-dos. I have made a dent in my workload. I have made an impact with the people that I'm working with my own self-esteem and my own goals, because here I can actually see these are the things that I got done and how they contribute to the bigger picture. And it might be that you're spending a lot of time doing things that aren't in your ballpark, that don't serve you, that aren't things that actually need you to personally do them. Or it might be that you're focusing on doing things that are important, they do need you to do them, but for whatever reason you've overlooked them before. And so now you need to actually take note of them so that you can factor them into your to-dos going forward. I think that's a really useful way to stay on track and to keep up with what's going on a granular level in your business, because you've got it right there in black and white in front of you. So you know it happened, and now you can consider how you make those things happen again in the future. So those are my 3 ways that you can make more impact. A little recap. So I said number 1 was get your house in order, otherwise known as your digital office. How is it set up? How are you operating? How are you showing up? Consider the things that you could be doing differently. Number 2 was map your client experiences. You want your client experiences and your client journeys to be impactful on every single level, at every single touch point. Consider all of the steps. Think about what you're doing, how you're showing up, how you're making them feel, what they're getting out of it, but also what you're getting out of it. As the service provider, your part of the journey is also important and makes up a massive part of your working day and your working life. So make sure that you're working in ways that also light you up and fulfill you. Number 3 was keep a to done. Keep a done list alongside your to-do list so you can actually see where your time is being spent and don't feel so disheartened when you don't tick all of the things off of your to-do list and feel like you're wasting time. You can see where your time is going and you can see what's important. Now, before I go today, I'd love to share with you details of one of our signature services. It's called Amplified. Amplified is a done for you service where we basically audit your life and your business, and we then create a personalized blueprint to create an elevation plan for you to move forward and move up to the next level in your business. So if you are a solo service-based business owner and you've reached a point where you're very successful, you're enjoying what you're doing, but you recognize that actually you're hitting a turning point where you just can't do all of the things that you would like to be doing or manage it all on your own, and you're not sure that actually working with an assistant or hiring somebody else in your business is the way forward, but something has to give because you can't continue the way you are, or you're just going to burn out, or reach capacity, and that's not fun, and it's going to impact how you earn and how you show up going forward, then reach out and connect with us on remotelyoonit.com. So you can find details out about Amplified and whether it's the right fit for you, and if it is, apply to work with us. There's more details on the webpage. The link is below in the caption, so check it out when you get time. And in the meantime, between time, I will see you again next time for the next episode of Lunchtime Live with Sid. Thanks for your ears today. It's been a pleasure. And if you watched on a replay, please do put #replay in the comments and let me know where you tuned in from. See you again soon. Take care.